This episode of the Buffalonian Podcast is brought to you by the CastSource Podcast Network, a podcast network built with and for entrepreneurs. We cover many genres, including sports, business, mental health, marketing, and entertainment. We feature the podcast shows such as Sports Bring People Together, Limitless, Saviors of the Metaverse, and The Athletic Mindset. Learn more at castsource.com/podcast. And without further ado, let's get into the Buffalonian Podcast. The Buffalo Bills finally have a win in the month of November and play for the second week straight in Detroit for Thanksgiving Day. Also, the Sabres are now on an 8-game losing streak. Will they figure out what's going on? We'll just have to wait and see. Along with the usual hot takes, trivia, and more, this is the Buffalonian Podcast. All right, let's go. We are back with the Buffalonian Podcast. I'm Joe Callie, and as always, I'm joined by Dom Lawson, Mike Marino. Happy Thanksgiving week, gentlemen. The last weekend ended pretty nice. The Bills finally got their first win in the month of November against the Cleveland Browns in Detroit due to the snowstorm. 6 feet of snow. You see Devin Singletary trying to get to work. It was kind of funny, but they actually ended up with a win. So, pretty rough first quarter. First half maybe. But they figured it out from there.
First 28 minutes?
First 28 minutes, yeah. But then it seemed to click from there.
Just saying. Under 2 minutes in that game. It was 31-16. I predicted 31-17.
He was extremely
And then they
close.
scored a touchdown and almost got an onside kick.
I thought when you texted that, like you were ahead of me on the game when they threw like an interception, because the very next play he threw it in the end zone and Dane Jackson almost got picked. And I was like, oh, okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then Gabe Davis is somehow on the hands team. That didn't make a...
No, because you saw in the first half, 28 minutes, like you said, he had no hands. So
I'm sorry, I gotta say this. Why does anyone do like that spinner onside kick? Like that was dumb.
Yeah, no, you want the bounce. I don't know what you're trying to
bounce. That was also like a really good onside. To credit to that kid York, that was a really nice onside kick, but
it was
questionable spin. We don't mention this guy a lot on the pod, but Tyvon Jones, nice job, man. Had the wherewithal to
applause for Taiwan.
Knock the ball out of Ronnie Harrison's hand, and then had the wherewithal to, instead of trying to recover it, just knock the ball out of bounds. Mm-hmm. That's why he's a captain.
Yeah, dude, it was close. They almost got it. That was a little crazy, but it was CBS's fault. It was 31-16 right before the Browns scored that touchdown. They show, this is what's going to happen. Bills are going to be 7-3. Browns are 3-7. And I was like, oh, well, that's way too early. As a Bills fan, what happened last week? Way too early to show what the projected standings are going to be after the game. Yeah, no, that happens quite a bit on CBS. Tony Romo likes to jinx games too. He likes to say, "Oh, yeah, there's no way they come back," and then boom, they're back. So it's just, I don't know. The CBS crew also was not in their normal blazers because they got rerouted. They actually landed in Buffalo on Thursday. They were saying on the broadcast, and then they ended up getting rerouted everywhere. So what a weekend though. What a weekend. The snow where we film, not as bad, not nearly as bad as the Orchard Park, but there's no way. People were mad about it too. Did you see that? Like people were like Barstool Sports, Dave Portnoy. He was like, "Why would you move the game?" And then they actually showed the stadium, and I'm like, "That's why you moved the game." Like, there's no way you're moving all that snow out of there and staying ahead of it. But I don't know. Just looking at the game though as a whole, who overall stepped up and took the game into their hands. I know our predictions, like we said before we started filming, for X Factors were pretty on point, all three of them. So, I'm going to start Devin Singletary, James Cook, the running game. Ken Dorsey finally runs the ball, and I'll say Ken Dorsey stepped up this week after the first 28 minutes. So that's my who stepped up. Don, what about you, buddy?
I think the supporting cast outside Diggs and Allen stepped up. Mm-hmm. It was a really big week for them. They're against the worst run defense in the entire NFL, and they were able to run the ball very effectively. James Cook showing you why. I think we all like Motor, but James Cook's just a different back. You see him hit those holes. He's just faster, and he's also really improved his contact balance, so he's staying up and getting those extra yards. Would have liked to see him get that 2-point conversion attempt instead of McKenzie. Maybe he would have stayed up and scored that instead of getting flown 10 yards off the sideline. But no, it was. I think we talked overall about Dawson Knox needs to be utilized more, and I mean, we saw it. He made a couple of really nice plays. Checkdowns. At 3rd and 10, I think they were threatening with their 3rd straight 3-and-out. Or 4th straight, and he on 3rd and 11 makes a great catch, and then makes the guy miss, and then he made a couple of nice catches up the seam as well. So, I think overall it was a pretty good game for the supporting cast. Obviously, it's a little weird seeing that only 4 people caught the ball. Didn't really see that a lot with the Bills. So you want to see maybe McKenzie. They're just not getting any pressure on the slot, which is unfortunate. And then maybe a little bit more better screen games. The screen game was really bad. But other than that, I thought the supporting cast really stepped up.
No, I agree. I think watching the game, Allen first quarter, most of the second quarter, he was struggling and he just looked off. Like we didn't target Diggs at all. And then they show the clip of Diggs going up to McDermott and they're like having a heart-to-heart there. Like, I don't know. It was off from the beginning. And then towards the end of the second quarter, like right when they scored that last touchdown, they started moving the ball. Allen started taking those checkdowns, like we've said for the past few weeks he needs to do. Like he only had 197 yards this week. Like he doesn't need, he doesn't need 50 pass attempts and 300 yards every game. Like this was effective. We moved down the field. We scored touchdowns. Knox had 7 catches and 70 yards, I think. So that was his best game of the year. Yeah. And we won. I mean, granted, end got a little scary,
a little hairy.
But I mean, like overall, like we figured it out. Like run the ball, take the checkdowns, don't force anything downfield. And there were still times where Allen took a shot. Like he had Davis on the sideline towards the end of the second quarter, I think too.
That was almost a catch too.
That was a third. That was in the third quarter. The one-handed one. That was
no. There was one before that.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying.
No, the one-handed one. Yeah, that was later in the game. But no, like you can still take those shots, but like you don't have to do it every play. So just throw them in there.
Yeah, I think it was a good game for Allen in the terms of you're playing a team that struggles against the run. You don't need to be beast mode. Like trust your guys. I think he was trusting his guys a lot this game, which is exciting to see. The one criticism I will have for Allen is it seemed to me that he was gun shy. And listen, I mean, we can't have it our way by saying he has to take the checkdowns every time, but there were opportunities I think that he could have pushed the ball downfield that honestly probably should have been thrown. But I think some people got in his mind by, hey, you got to take care of the ball more, throw underneath a little bit more. I think he was doing that. But I think we're starting to see he was so reckless with the ball the last 3 weeks. This week he's conservative. I think we're going to start seeing him he was rock bottom. He climbed out of it. We're having a good conservative take care of the football game. Now we're going to see him start ramping it back up again. I think that's why Diggs was a little bit frustrated because him and Davis had a couple plays where he checked it down where they had separation downfield that you wanted to, Allen usually guns it, but it was overall it was a good game. I mean, he was 4-10 for 27 yards at the 2-minute warning.
Yeah.
And then after that, he was 14-17 for 170. So it seemed like the offense started to click, running the ball really effectively. And overall, I think they did a good job protecting him as well. Other than Myles Garrett beat Dion one rep, and
that was bad.
That was bad. Yeah, he
spun
destroyed.
Right away. He was going to go on the out and then just spun. Dion was gone.
Mm-hmm. I liked the Nyheim Hines play. Just bad execution, but that was also a 15-yard penalty on Jadeveon Clowney.
Yeah.
But I like getting those guys a little bit more involved. Those speed guys, and Diggs. He was all right. I mean, 448 on 5 targets, not bad. But when he didn't have I don't think you got an A game from Diggs. I don't think you got an A game really from Allen. I think the second half and 2-minute warning you did, but for most of the first half you didn't. And to still put up 31 points, especially because they put up 31 points, but it's not like they got gifted great field. I mean, Nyheim Hines did a really good job returning, but it's not. I think they only had one drive maybe that started in Browns territory when they fumbled.
Yeah,
so they were able to move the ball. I think the next step for them is Allen takes more shots, becomes more confident, and the 6 field goals really probably can't happen again. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to complain with them scoring 31 points, especially how bad it began.
Yeah, no, exactly. You can't complain about 31 points on the board in a W. And just my one question for you two, do you think the lack of practice this week had anything to do with the slow start? Because I know CBS, the team was alluding to that the entire time, pretty much. I mean, I get it, like, especially like we're going to talk about Terrell Dodson, like those younger guys stepping in, you know what I mean? Like not having all the practice reps, but I don't know. I feel like it made some difference in the first half, but I don't know if it was like, I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, these guys maybe made a little bit just having to, like, you know, they're focused on actually getting to the game and, like, you know, making sure it's completely different now. They probably had some concerns like with family too, because they're playing on Thanksgiving. So if they were going to do something before, you know, it might have gotten messed up. So maybe mentally that was all a little off, but like physically, I don't see why missing a few practices during the week would make that much a difference. Just because you practice all year, you're in pristine athletic condition. You should be, at least. Like, I think it was more of a mental thing of having to relocate your game and being away from your family rather than like a physical thing of not practicing.
Right. No, I would agree. I think it was more mental, emotional than not practicing. I mean, people were sick throughout the week. You have injuries, but I mean, at the end of the day, they're professionals. I think it was more a mental thing of you expected this game to be at home and you have to travel to Detroit to play it, and you didn't know if you're going to be able to make it. I think that's a bigger problem to me than more like the lack of practice. I mean, maybe the offense. I think the offense might have been more effective by the more than the defense, because I think the offense was just a little bit out of sorts.
Right.
I also just think that's, you know, they just didn't play particularly clean football in that first 28 minutes. But at the end of the day, they got the job done. And it was, I guess, you know, I think McDermott, they said on the broadcast that they said it was kind of like they were playing on a Thursday night game with the amount of practice. Well, good for them because they played this Thursday. So I guess they're prepared now for that.
Yeah. Well, and they stayed on the visitors' sideline in the visitors' locker room to have that experience ready. So, I mean, they did it right. But I mean, let's take a look here. Who was bad? I mean,
before we, I will say this though, for the thing that stepped up, because we a little bit glossed over it, the run defense. Solid all day.
Yeah.
There's a couple of runs that were like 9-10 yard runs. Other than that, they were really good all day with Chubb and Hunt. The D tackles had probably their best games in a while against a really good front and the Browns too. So it's not like they're playing bad competition. Milano had a nice game as well. And nice to have Poyer, and Hamlin also got robbed. That was not pass interference.
No, it was. I was mad watching that because, like, granted, he did hook around him, but he didn't like pull him like or anything like that. You know what I mean?
I didn't know if the ball was catchable either.
It was going out of bounds, wasn't it? Or it was.
I think it was catchable, but like
he was
making the play on the ball. It would have been like he turned. I don't know. It was back call.
Yeah, it was iffy.
But to make your point after who played bad, I would say Von Miller's lack of finishing was bad, but I mean he was disruptive. But I would say, you know, I think they really missed Tremaine in this game. The Browns constantly attacked the middle of the field. Dobson was terrible in coverage.
Yeah,
like the dude, they got straight lucky on that one drive and those tight ends. I mean, the first ball was good by the D lineman to pressure him. The second ball, that tight end down the seam on, like, it wasn't third and goal, but it was like third near that in the red zone.
Right.
I don't know how. Like, James Lawson was like, "Oh, it's out the fingertips." I was like, "Dude, that should have been caught." Like, I mean, he just.
Well, and then he celebrated too.
No, that made my brother so mad. He was like, "I can't believe he's celebrating on a play he got absolutely whooped on." But no, it was a brutal game from him. I think it shows, you know, why they need Tremaine back, but I don't think Tremaine's going to be back this week. So it's kind of like, do we make a change? I don't know. I think you kind of have to. And then the DBs were brutal. Mm-hmm. Every DB got picked on except Xavier Rose. I mean, he had some pretty nice reps, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah,
but every DB, and it was one of those situations where, like, some of them, yes, they got whooped off the line, like tearing on that slant. But there was a couple where, like, they had good positioning, but I mean, at one point, you got to be able to make a play on the ball. And I mean, Peoples-Jones is a beast. Cooper's a good receiver, but there was like 4 or 5 chances to make plays on the ball that the defensive backs of the Bills just got beat.
I don't know. Even that last touchdown when the Browns got up to 23 there, Like, it seemed like Dane, if he had turned and like been watching the ball, probably could have broken it up or even maybe got a pick.
Yeah.
Like, he was in good position. It's just he didn't get his head around, and that let Cooper get the touchdown.
I couldn't believe that was a touchdown when I saw it.
Yeah,
I mean, I could, but I was like, oh my God, come on. Like,
no, you can definitely tell that like we need a Trey.
No. Tremaine Edmonds was a huge miss. I mean, like we said before, he's someone we have to definitely work on re-signing and everything, just because he has been so locked down this year. And like I said, if you told me this was going to happen earlier this year, I would have said you're nuts. But the Tremaine train is cooking right now. So
I think what happened to this game is the Bills really focused on stopping the run, which is a good thing. Mm-hmm. They blitzed a lot and they left their DBs out to dry.
Right.
And I think that was part of the issue as well, is that it was a lot of one-on-ones. They didn't have that much help. It also showed you that, eventually talent, wins supreme in the NFL. And, you've been able to you survive with these kind of depth corners as your starting corners. But, I mean, I feel like at the end of the day, like Trey White and Kaiir Elam, the two corners that were out, are going to be your starting corners. I mean, I just don't.
Yeah.
Like, no, I agree. Like,
Benford's
Dane
solid.
Jackson's probably your 3. Benford's probably your 4. Obviously, Terran's your slot. But, like, I don't know. Trey White, when healthy, he was a first team All-Pro a few years ago.
First team and second team, 2-time All-Pro.
Yeah, so, like, he's an All-Pro corner, Pro Bowler. Kaiir Elam's shown glimpses of being, like, a number 1, number 2 corner. And he should be able to learn a lot from Trey, because obviously Trey is now 27. So, like, he's still in his prime here, but still coming back from this ACL. Maybe he's not the same player he once was. Maybe he's not as aggressive.
I think he plays a little more conservative just from fear of the turf, like they're saying.
I think that, like Dom was saying, like, the only reason why he's not back maybe is just because he doesn't want to re-injure his knee. He's more afraid of that because he actually cares about, like, post-football. So I think those two, if completely healthy, can be locked down number 1, number 2. Like, I don't think Dane is bad. I don't think Benford's bad, but they've just proven to be not every week starters.
No, they've proven to be depth corners, and that's not a bad thing. I mean, they could start a game or two, but when they're your 2 starting outside cornerbacks, it's not a great sign.
Yeah.
But what gives me hope about Trey is Trey's always one of those guys that was athletic, but was never as athletic as like the top corners. But the reason why he was a top corner is because he's just so smart and savvy. So I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if when he comes back from his ACL surgery, like he's gonna be fine, because his main skill set's the mind. It's not really his athleticism. It's his technique and savviness. So we get to have him back. Obviously, they're not going to have him back this week, I don't think. But
I think honestly, we get him primed for the postseason more than anything at this point. Looking at it, you know what I mean, to have him back there. But I mean, I'd like to see him come in maybe a little bit here and there, but I don't know. We'll see. Play it by ear. He's going to be good when he comes back. So, and it'll be a help. So, but
it'd be good to have those guys back. It was nice to have Poyer back. He made a couple of really nice plays.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you get the secondary healthy, get Tremaine back. Unfortunate that Epinesa gets injured now, and now it seems like, we're going to talk about it, but, their depths at the edge, which was a strength, is now it's still a strength, but now it's becoming really tested with Rousseau and Epinesa banged up. But all in all, it's a good win. I would like somehow to get Nyheim Hines more touches offensively, because that dude was electric returning.
Yeah. He was. It was fantastic.
Listen, I do think this, though. And listen, we might always be upset with the amount of touches he gets offensively, but I think the Bills have understood that they needed someone to take Andre Roberts' role, his spot on the team. And I think they realized that Isaiah McKenzie's not that returner. They drafted Marquez Stevenson, but that dude can't stay healthy. So, like, yes, Hines could do some gadget plays, but he's also maybe we had to stop looking at him as a running back, really, as more of a returner. But I still think they should be giving him more opportunities in the offense.
Yeah, even just as a receiving back, we're struggling in the slot. Maybe try and give him some reps and see if that helps. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But I mean, speaking of possible future slot running backs, I mean, we touched on it a little bit. I mean, James Cook really stepped up. He's been so confident recently, just in his play style. It from the first game where he fumbled on the first touch to now, like, it's not the same guy out there. And it's so, out of the rookies, I mean, it's kind of tough to compare defensive rookies on the Bills to James Cook, but I mean, he's been he's taken those strides to where you could see him really developing, where like Elam's showing the glimpses, but James Cook is continually showing those glimpses. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what we really like to see because for a while it just seems like we haven't had that number one runner. Like you can say Shady was a good running back for us, but like our team was kind of meh at the time, and his last year was just brutal.
Yeah.
Like, once he hit 30, he just fell off.
Yeah.
I
mean, 10,000 yards, and he was like, oh, nope, I'm out.
Yeah. So it's like we really haven't had a true elite game-changing running back since Thurman, I would say.
I would agree.
So if I'm not saying James Cook right now has to be that, but if in a few years he can be that dual threat receiver, runner, game-changing back, it'd be really good because at that point, Allen, he'll be a little bit older. He'll still be in his prime, but
maybe
Diggs
not
will be
running
older.
as much.
Diggs might not be around. We don't know what Davis is going to do if he's going to come back or not.
So
he can be very important.
No, I think what's shown is that this ground game is improving a lot from the beginning of the year. Now, granted, some of that's competition. They're playing some bad run defenses, but it's nice to see James Cook step up. Devin's been playing very solid. It's nice for them to start utilizing Knox. It's just they need to find a way to get more production on the slot, like point blank. They need to figure out who that is because at this stage of the game, it seems like Diggs is Diggs. He's going to always be there.
Yeah.
Knox is starting to be, emerge himself. And the ground game's coming along. And Davis is just, I think you're just going to have to accept Davis for his flaws, that he'll make a couple really nice plays, but he's also going to do some like really stupid plays, like dropping that ball on third down.
Yeah.
I think you just got to understand, like, he's an inconsistent too. He's going to have games where he will potentially get a 50-yard touchdown, but he's also going to have a game where he drops the ball directly in his hands.
Right.
But to comprehend that, like, you need someone another guy underneath to kind of help him out, be like that Cole Beasley.
Yeah. That's why I wish Jamison Crowder was healthy. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I just
see how he would do.
I just think they need someone to step up in that role. And if it's, Isaiah McKenzie's shown that he's really not that. Shakir really, hasn't really got an opportunity, but he also hasn't been stunning when he has the opportunity. So I don't know. Maybe it's Nyheim Hines. Maybe it's James Cook. Maybe it's the running backs that maybe not Singletary, but maybe it's Cook and Hines that more. Maybe we're going to use you out of the backfield to be the slot guy. I don't know. They got to figure it out though. Or it's Quinn Morris. I haven't heard his name in quite a bit of time, and he played a lot.
Yeah,
he's been playing a lot, and he's been running a lot of routes. And I don't know if Josh isn't looking for him. He's not open. I don't know.
But he does make good catches when he's thrown to. Very little times he has been, but he's been consistent whenever he's targeted. So I don't know. It's interesting to see where this team's heading because, you think right now, like we were the Super Bowl favorite, right? I don't know if I haven't checked the odds on that, right?
They're not. I don't think. I think Kansas City is.
Yes, which makes sense, right? They've been playing great football, but you would think going into this season that, this team was figured out with Josh and, the offense was going to be the offense. But we're seeing this running game all of a sudden develop from where it was last year and like start showing that, you know what I mean? Like it's actually can be consistent, especially with these young guys. And just my question to you, kind of out of pocket a little bit, Singletary's contract year, right? We're in it right now. We have also re-signed, we have to worry about Poyer and Tremaine Edmonds, who have had, whenever they're playing healthy, great games. Do you re-sign Singletary and, keep Hines as that receiving back or punt return, kick return, or whatever he is, and keep Singletary and Cook? Or do you let Singletary walk and try and bring Hines and Cook, like maintain them? Because you've got 2 more years of Hines on his current contract, and Cook's, they're both young. So what do you think?
I think I would like to re-sign Singletary because I think he's a nice compliment back. I don't think he's obviously not number one, and I don't think the Bills really ever run like they would just want that one guy. I think they like a lot of rotation kind of everywhere on the field. So I feel like they'd bring him back because I don't think he'd break the bank, even if he becomes a free agent. Right. I don't think there's going to be a bidding war or anything for Devin Singletary. I think he'd come back. I would bring him back maybe like 2 to 3 years. I wouldn't give him a super long term.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a nice little term because we all know once running backs get in their late 20s, they hit 30. That's kind of it for them. Like, it's just the way it is. So, I think cost-wise, it wouldn't be too much to bring him back. Plus, he knows the system. I think Josh trusts him in a sense to be able to give him the ball. And I don't know. I think just having like a committee like that would be the smart move.
No, I think think they should bring him back. I think like 2 for 8, 2 for 10. I think that's what Melvin Gordon got, I believe, 2 for 10. So I think that would probably be the price. I mean, there's a pretty deep running back class. So I think that would lower his demand, so his price would decrease. So I don't think it'd be too expensive, and it would be nice to have, still have that Cook Singletary. And I think that's a really good combo right now. And I think it'd be smart to have if it's cheap. If he wants, long term and more, then it was fun for the 4 years, man. Have a good one.
Yeah, no, definitely. I agree. I think we should keep him around, but I think we got to move on now to the Lions game on Thanksgiving, back in Detroit for the second week in a row, back in that same visitors locker room, same visitors side of the field.
I mean, it's interesting. 2019 season, they started off 2 straight games at MetLife. So
they
went 2-0 in those games. Come on now.
Yeah, we're back in Detroit. There were a lot of Lions fans at the game, by the way. It's just they were repping the Bills.
They got 3 in a row right now. The Lions.
Yeah. I mean, it's the first time
they shut down your Giants, Joe.
They did, but I picked the Lions. I faded the Giants last week, so you gotta
listen to my advice.
Yeah. So the Bills are 10-point favorites going into this game. Not surprising, not really surprising to me. The Lions are kind of hit or miss. Like they'll play good games, but they always seem to lose. You know what I mean? So, and especially against the team like the Bills now with a win in their pocket, coming off of that. I mean, it is a short week though. But I think it helps. It's in the same spot, right? So like the experience will be the same. Like, what do you think? I mean, just coming back to Detroit for the short week.
Yeah, I mean, I think they'll be ready. I think mentally they're always ready for Thursday night games. Like they knew going in this was going to be Thanksgiving afternoon. So I don't think that's going to be anything. Right. I just don't want this to be like a trap game because now we finally won a game and then we're like, oh, we can, we're going to start rolling again. I mean, not that the Lions are the most feared opponent, but they're on a roll too right now. So I feel like this could be a team where you overlook them and they could steal one from you. But I'm not overly concerned that we're going to lose this game at all. Like, I think we're going to build off of what we did last week. I'm thinking maybe you'll see some more shots from Allen. Maybe sneak in a trick play or two. I don't know. Maybe get creative a bit. Show on national TV. Showcase the squad.
What John Brown did Devin Singletary 2019.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Get the Dable mindset flowing in Dorsey. With those cute little trick
Hopefully
plays.
Not run Dable's offense last week.
No.
Yeah, but I think this is maybe a different game. The Lions held Barkley to 15 carries for 22 yards. But they have one of the worst pass defenses in the NFL.
Yeah.
So I still think the Bills are going to try and run the ball a little bit to put the pressure off Allen. But I think this is just a big game for the pass offense. I think you're going to see some big numbers from Diggs. Hopefully Knox scores a tud. I mean, I think this is a big day for the passing offense. But, I mean, as Mike said, like, the Lions are a formidable foe. Like, they're a solid football team. Yeah. They play very hard for 60 minutes, and you got to bring your cowbell, man. It's going to be a physical game. They're going to try and establish the run. I think DeAndre Swift's still a little – I mean, he's playing, but I don't know if he's going to play because he's a little bit banged up.
Yeah.
But they have Jamal Williams, who's kind of a bruising back. They do a lot of good stuff with Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, that dude's a stud.
Yeah.
But Jared Goff is Jared Goff, man. It's not a great offensive line. It's an average offensive line, and if they can be able to put pressure on Goff, I mean, he's going to fold like a cracker. So, I would say if the D line can get pressure on Goff, and if the offense could take advantage of a pretty poor pass defense, the Lions one of the worst. I think at one point they were one of the worst pass defenses of all time. So,
yeah,
if those two things reign true, the Bills have a very good chance of winning this football game.
No, I would absolutely agree with that. I mean, we mentioned AJ Epinesa is in fact injured, and that is him and Groot will not be on the edge. It'll be Von Miller. And who do you think they're going to call up for his replacement at this point?
Well, they have Boogie, they have Shaq.
Shaq had a good game last week. I mean,
he played pretty well. Mm-hmm. I think this is Boogie Basham's breakout game. You have that pick on national television against the Rams. I think he's going to make a nice play in this game. But I probably think Mike Love, maybe Kingsley Jonathan. They just picked him back up from the practice squad. I think he got cut by the Colts. But I think they're going to reward Mike Love. He's been on the practice squad for like 4 years now. So I think he'll probably get a game day call up. And again, it's a big day for the edge rushers, in the ground game, and be able to get to Jared Goff. And with your second, probably I would say your third best edge rusher out, it's gonna be tested that depth.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree.
Yeah, no, I think like we were saying how early in the year our defensive line was so deep, and they're just gonna hit a rotation, and now it's like kind of seemed like Von Miller earlier in the year was more of on a snap count. Like I think he still is, but now these are a lot more important snaps that he's taking because when he's not in the field, who are we relying on? Like these are practice squad guys, backup guys. Like I don't know, but he was saying average line, so not too crazy, and Jared Goff can't really move. So I don't know. We'll see how our depth is. I think we'll see how linebackers step up, see how the secondary, if they do any blitzes or anything. I know Matt Milano had a really clean sack on Brissett because he saw, I think it was Hamlin was blitzing.
I think it was
Taryn slop blitz. Someone, he saw them, did not see Milano at all. No. He just got a clean sack. So it should be interesting.
It should be a good game. I think it's going to be a really explosive offensive game. So it's going to be up to those young Bills DBs to really keep some of those playmakers in check. But
do you think AJ Klein plays in this game? Sorry to cut you off.
No, I was about to go.
Oh, were you? Oh, okay.
Oh, that's cool. No, I think it's interesting. I'm going to say they're going to stick with Dodson. Mm-hmm. But I mean, AJ Klein's a solid cover linebacker. He's not good against the run, which is his downfall. He's also when we talked about him in the 2020 season, he's a playmaker. Mm-hmm. He's one of those guys that probably will be pretty bad for the majority of the game, but he'll make that. Like the Seahawks, he got the strip sack on Russ. He'll make like a really big play in a probably a big part of the game. So I mean, I think I would rather have him out there than Tyrell Dobson just because of cover ability, but I doubt they're going to make a change because of the short week. And I guess Klein's more of like the Matt Milano or I don't know. Honestly, I think we could see it. I don't know.
I think it'll be a game time decision if anything, but I don't know. We'll see.
So Josh Allen beats Dallas on the 4:30 Thursday game. 4:30. Wow. Thanksgiving game in 2019. Mm-hmm. Last year, obviously, goes into New Orleans and beats the Saints on the night game. Now plays the Lions at 12:30. Does he finish the trifecta? He's played well in both those games. Does he finish the sweep? I think he would be the first quarterback ever to win on all 3 time slots on Thanksgiving.
Well, if it's going to be anyone, it's going to be him. Mm-hmm.
My next question would be this though: when the Bills play, I mean, the Bills will probably play again on Thanksgiving Day because the NFL loves them on Thanksgiving. Will the Bills be the home team finally? I mean, it could only be the night game because, of course, Dallas for a reason has to have the 4:30. And Dallas is okay having 4:30. I have no idea why the Lions have a home game at noon on Thanksgiving.
I think it's just tradition, man.
Is it just because they're bad and that we feel bad for them? Like, I mean, someone's gonna probably roast me for that, but I don't know what to tell you.
No, I think it's just been that way for a long time, and I think they're kind of rolling with it. You know what I mean? But I would love to see the Bills have a home game on Thanksgiving, but I mean, I don't know. It'll all. I feel like we're more likely to when the new stadium's built.
No, you're right. No,
I feel like that would definitely be when.
It's also weird. It's also a weird time of year because obviously they just had to move a game from home to Detroit. Like, the weather's always kind of
it's a question mark in November.
And you can't go to Detroit because Detroit actually has a home game that day unless you want to do a doubleheader on the same field. So
yeah, I think maybe when the new stadium is built and it's got a little more coverage from the snow, just the field normally gets hit. They might be able to contain that a little more than the entire stadium, so that might be, I mean, God forbid we have another winter storm like that, you know what I mean, in Orchard Park where there's 77 inches of snow. So I don't know. I think maybe in the future with the new stadium, that might be when that happens. But
yeah. So we talked a little key success. We talked a little bit about injuries. I want to go into X factors real quick. Who is the X factor in this game? Joe, we'll start with you. You've been asking questions. I'll ask you the question.
All right. Ask me the question. I am going to go with. I'm going to go with Dawson for this week. I think the checkdowns are going to be big. Like you said, their pass defense is iffy, so I think Dawson Knox is going to have a day. Big dude, you know what I mean, and making some big catches. I hope Davis does, but then again,
The hands haven't been sure all season, so it's kind of hit or miss with him. You know what I mean? So I'm going to stick with Knox because I'd like to see him just even further his development into that receiving third option. You know what I mean, for the tight end position.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna go on a limb here. I think Isaiah McKenzie's gonna have a game.
Oh.
I think they're gonna do some gadget stuff with him, give him some end arounds, give him some throws. Like, I just feel like he's due to have a game. It always seems like at least once a year he has some randomly good game. I think that's gonna be Thanksgiving.
Yeah, like that Patriots game in New England last year, right after Christmas. Yeah.
It's a tough one. I'm gonna go. The X factor will be the edges after Von Miller, Shaq Lawson, Boogie Basham, Mike Love. Well, I'm supposed to Mike Love. If those three guys have good games, the Bills will be in good position. So I'll go them. I'll make it even. I said Boogie had a pick against the Rams. I think he causes another turnover. I'm not going to say whether it's a forced fumble or a pick, but we'll have to find out 12:30 on Thursday.
Love to see him get a strip sack. Come on, Boogie. Come on, Boogie Basham. Let's go. I love that. I mean, now, though, just keys to success in general here. What do the Bills have to do to get this victory? I know we kind of touched on it a little bit. Maybe make those deeper passes against just, their lower rated pass defense. But I think you try the run. You got to test everything out and then just kind of go from there. You know what I mean? Like, don't just all of a sudden write off Cook and Singletary because they have a good rush defense. You know what I mean? Just kind of test everything out. I mean, you did in the first quarter of this game. So the past Browns game. So I think they got to do that and just let Allen be Allen,
Yeah, I think staying ahead of schedule. You saw in the first half, the Bills were not staying ahead of schedule. Josh was throwing a lot of incompletions on first, second down, and all of a sudden it's 3rd and 11, 3rd and 10. If the Bills can constantly at least, I would say take deep shots, but also constantly be able to put themselves in that third manageable range, I think they'll have a lot of success offensively. And then defensively, I mean, it's Jared Goff, man.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to tell you.
No. Michael,
story of his career, man. Can't deal with pressure.
Exactly.
Oh, man. No, I think it's funny. Jared Goff, remember, not too long ago, he was in a Super Bowl.
Hey, he's winning more Super Bowls than Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that Super Bowl, that was questionable, that appearance, because of that pass interference call against the Saints in the championship game. So I don't know.
True.
That was
Punters were the MVP that game. Anyway.
Some would say fraudulent.
The fraudulent, you could spell it from here. The fraudulent. That's all I have to say.
The F word was dropped.
Yes, it was dropped. Then there were a lot of people mad after that game. So
yeah,
I don't know. Questionable Super Bowl appearance, but I don't know. I don't think we'll have a problem with him. Now, is there anyone notable on their, before we get to Bills injuries, is there anyone notable on the Lions that's injured? It's
a
like
great
anything
question.
Crazy?
Why don't you let's talk about the Bills injuries then.
All right, we'll go to that. All right, so the Bills, I mean, it's just Tremaine Edmonds, right? Tremaine's out with his ankle, not returning. Tre'Davious White still inactive. Greg Rousseau, AJ Epinesa. Anyone else? Am I blanking on anything?
Mitch Morris did not practice today.
Oh,
and there's a very good chance that he doesn't play.
So that would mean who?
Because he was in a boot after the game. So that
we could
have
Van Rotten.
We could have Van Rotten again. I would prefer that they put Bates in, and then they put someone like Questenberry or like guard, and have that lineup.
Yeah, Van Rotten was not, when he came in that Titans game. After Morse hurt his elbow, the snap. Remember, we were watching it right there. The snaps were not nearly. Him and Josh were not linked up very well. So I'd rather see someone else go in there other than Van Rotten. What do you think, Mike?
Well, yeah, I mean, think about it. Josh is getting all the practice with Morse. So, maybe if you threw Case Keenum in there, he'd have good snaps with Van Rotten. I don't know. Allen's not really practicing taking snaps from anyone else. So I think no matter who you put in, the snaps aren't always going to be perfect. But yeah, no, at that Titans game, some of the snaps were a little bad, a little questionable. So
Dolphins game especially.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I don't know. I wouldn't be opposed to throwing him in there just because he has starts as a center. But I think Bates would be a good option too. I think Questenberry needs to be on the field too because I think he's a good offensive lineman.
Yeah, just in general, blocking and everything. You're right.
Yeah. So transitioning from the Bills to the Lions had 7 players unable to practice, projected on Monday.
Okay.
Frank Ragnow foot, Evan Brown ankle, Jonah Jackson illness for their offensive line, defensive lineman Charles Harris groin, Josh Pascal knee, wide receiver Josh Reynolds back, and cornerback Jeff Okuda concussion. So those are some pretty big names. I mean, Ragnow's a Pro Bowl center. I think Brown's a starting guard. Charles Harris is a solid edge rusher. Josh Reynolds is kind of that number 2, number 3.
alum.
I was about to say, I knew his name sounded familiar. Number 2, number 3 corner. And then Akura, I was number 3 over a pick a couple years back. He's played pretty solid this year, but concussions is a hard thing to go through. So I don't know. It's gonna be interesting.
Yeah.
No, and then I know he's obviously not going to play, but they did activate Jamison Williams, so he's got 21 days. So he's not going to play Thursday, but he will be coming back shortly.
All righty. I mean, I feel like, it's still either way. I mean, even with our injuries, I think we'll be able to squeeze out the win here. I mean, let's just look at it though. At the end of the game, we'll start offensive. Who's an offensive MVP? Who wins the day for the Bills, would you say? Dom, you kick us off, buddy.
Josh Allen. We're trying to be unique on this podcast, not pick the standard answer, but you're against one of the worst pass defenses. Josh Allen eats on Thanksgiving.
They want that turkey leg.
I just hope they don't give him NBC's turkey leg, that dry turkey leg this time around.
No, we're not on NBC.
I know they're on CBS with Tony Romo, Joe's favorite announcer.
Great. Yeah, my favorite. No. Mike, what about you?
Give me Josh Stone for 350 and 4 touchdowns.
All right.
Okay. Well, I mean, I said my X factor is McKenzie. I think he's gonna have a game, but the MVP will probably be Diggs because I think they're gonna maybe make up for him being such a little part of the Cleveland Browns game. So I wouldn't be surprised if he had like 10 catches for like 120 and a touchdown.
All right. I think.
How long would be the touchdown? You think a little fade?
Yeah, maybe like within the 5-yard line, 10-yard line.
He had a missile to him against the Browns.
He fell over.
Yeah,
he did.
Did you see he watched it through through his legs? Like he was looking to see.
I had to say he threw that, and I was like, "Oh man, this must be a tight window." He really gave it all. He was wide open.
Yeah,
he could have just lobbed it, my guy. But hey, we got the job done.
Yeah, but my offensive MVP would definitely. I'm gonna say Josh Allen. Dom, I'm right with you. He's gonna have a monster game against this pass defense, and I'll back your claim. 350 for 4 tutties. I like that. I like the sound of that. So that being said, defensive MVPs, I am gonna go with Matt Milano. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think he's gonna have another monster game. As always, he's gonna be great.
Yeah,
I think he's gonna get back there, put some pressure on, and just eat. He's gonna be eating quite a bit after this game.
No, he's definitely an underrated player, but I think Dane Jackson, he's gonna have a pretty good game. I think he's gonna get a pick.
Bounce back.
I think he's getting an interception this game.
You know who I'm picking? Boogie
Basham. Yeah,
he's gonna cause a turnover in the game again. Not saying it's gonna be a second interception of the year or it's gonna be a forced fumble, but
yeah, something
game changing play by Boogie Basham could potentially be a touchdown too. Not ruling that one out either.
Well, you know what? I'd love to see all of that happen. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. So, but let's finish it off here with score predictions for the game. Dom, what do you got?
I got Buffalo 38, Detroit 28.
All right, 10-point victory. Mike, what about you?
Bills 40, Lions 21.
Okay, I'm gonna go Bills 35-14 Lions. So I think the Bills have a day. So I mean, I'd love to see it. But we're gonna merge our betting on the Bills episode this week. We're only doing one episode because of this holiday we call Thanksgiving. So we're gonna be eating quite a bit. So we're gonna go over our picks from last week here. Dom had a week, went 11-3. Congratulations! What a good week. I then was 9-5, and Mike was 8-6, all above 500 this week, unlike last week where we were all under 500. So totals for the season: Dom's 104, 59-1. I'm 101, 62-1, and Mike is 88, 75-1. Not bad, gentlemen. Not bad. You don't see many. We say every week. Like we say every week, you don't see many that accurate. So it's pretty interesting to see, But let's move into these game picks for the week. We are going to be picking the Giants-Cowboys game, Patriots-Vikings, Bengals-Titans, Steelers-Colts, and Bears and Jets. And I think honestly, this week's a better looking week than a lot of these others have been, just the way the teams have played out. Thanksgiving too. We're doing every Thanksgiving game, including the Bills game that we just picked. So, Mike, do you want to kick us off? You pick the game you want to start with first. I have a feeling you're going top of the list.
Well, yeah, we'll just start at the top here. I think the Giants are going to beat the Cowboys. Seems like Cowboys. Okay. Well, I think this is the thing.
I don't know. Joe took over your body for a minute there.
Okay. Anyway, I don't know. Every time the Cowboys get a win, it's like, oh, they're the best team in the NFL. They're winning the Super Bowl. Every time they lose a game, it's like, oh, the Cowboys suck. They're the worst team in their division. Oh, my God. End of the world. So, I just think they got a blowout win over the Vikings, which was number 2 seed in the NFC. I think that's going to get in their head that they're like this unstoppable team. And I think the Giants are going to come in, and I think they're going to win. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it'll be a one-score game, and I think the Giants are going to win.
I'm going to take the Cowboys in the beatdown. They're going to make a statement. Daniel Jones, fraudulent. This Cowboys defense is legit. One of the best defense. I think through 10 games, they have 42 sacks or something like that, which is the most all time. The Giants offense line ain't going to stop them. So, Dak's going to make a statement again on Thanksgiving primetime. Dallas wants to be the team to be in that division. Giants are just a real block in their way. Give me the Cowboys big.
All right.
Finally, they're using Tony Pollard, which they're starting to realize that's a positive result.
Yeah. I agree with you, Dom. I'm going to take the Dallas Cowboys. And honestly, these two teams have played earlier this season, and the Giants fell to Cooper Rush. And like Dom said, they're really using Tony Pollard now, which I've been big on Tony Pollard all season. He's produced more than Zeke, like when they play together. So I'm going with the Dallas Cowboys, especially with Dak back. I just feel like it's different. But the next game, the New England Patriots at the Minnesota Vikings. I don't know. This is like the Vikings are 3-point favorites at home. So
I think it's going to be a Vikings bounce back. I don't think the Patriots played well at all.
No. Yeah.
And they got lucky on the punt return.
Yeah.
So I think the Vikings are going to bounce back in this one.
I agree. I'm taking the Minnesota Vikings.
That's the night game? Thanksgiving night game?
I believe so.
I think this is going to be a tough, gritty game. Won in the trenches. New England wins by a field goal. I think this. Wow. Listen, I think Kirk Cousins is going to struggle. I think the Patriots do a very good job defensively. You only have 4 days to plan for them.
Well, and it's primetime Kirk Cousins. He normally folds. So
yeah, they're going to have a good game plan for them. I think they're going to be able to put pressure on Kurt. And Matt Judon are going to have a big game. And the Patriots defense is legit. And I think, this Patriots offense, Mac was efficient against the Jets. And that's a good Jets defense. So I think it's a little downgrade to playing the Vikings defense is still solid, but not, I don't want to say elite. And
right.
I think the Patriots get their ground game going again, and they get a 16-13, that kind of a gritty dub, as Mike calls it, a gritty dub.
Gritty dub. Well, you said it's one for the trenches. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't think you lose 40-3 and then lose to the Patriots who got lucky on the return. You know what I mean? I feel like, I don't know. It'll be a close game. There's no doubt about it, but I think the Vikings will overtake by 3 points at least. So Mike and I, Vikings, Dom, Patriots. So next game, the rematch from last playoffs, the Bengals against the Titans, the upset, except the Bengals are 1.5 point road favorites on this game.
Disrespect the Titans. Give them the Titans all day. I don't listen. The Bengals, they flop, man. They have some really floppy games. Like they flopped against the Browns. They flopped against, because the Cooper Rush game doesn't look as bad, but that was a bad L. The Steelers game of Mitch Trubisky, they took an L. They didn't play particularly well last game against Kenny Pickett. I think Derrick Henry is going to run for like 150 yards, 2 touchdowns, especially because I think this is a motivation. I mean, whose side wants to play harder? Like the Bengals beat this team in the playoffs. Like I think the Titans want revenge. They want that blood.
And because they sacked Joe Burrow 9 times and still managed to lose that game.
The defense is playing. The Titans defense is playing as one of the best teams in football.
Yeah,
still probably no Jamar Chase. I mean, I don't tell you other than I think the Titans roll. I think this is a blowout. As long as Tannehill takes care of the ball, they're gonna run the ball well. To get to Joe Burrow with that defense, Traylon Burks maybe catches a touchdown or 2. Stepped up for 100 yards last game. Give me the Titans.
No, I'm on the same thing. I think the Titans are going to win. This is usually the time of the year they pick it up anyway. We've seen Derrick Henry starting to find his rhythm here. So I don't know. I think the Bengals, they're doing a lot better than the Rams, but I still think they have a little bit of a Super Bowl hangover. I think they kind of had a Cinderella run. I don't think like we're expecting them to be this juggernaut powerhouse like the Chiefs or Bills or anything like that. So, I mean, the Titans were the number 1 seed last year. Like, don't forget that. They're still a very well-coached team and a very hard football team to play against. So I think they're going to win.
Yeah, I honestly, I'm just a button. Like, I completely forgot the biggest mismatch on the gridiron is Zach Taylor versus Mike Vrabel. So
yeah.
No, yeah, that's what I was going to say. I mean, Mike Vrabel's got that team absolutely rolling right now. Morale is high. Like, there's no question to me that the Titans win. The Bengals, just without Jamar Chase, it hasn't been working for them. They've rolled over, showed their belly in multiple games. So I don't know. It's like they're going to do that in this game too. The big dog Titans are coming in, and the Bengals are not going to be able to win this one.
Also, the Titans have the rest advantage as well, playing on last Thursday.
Yes, exactly. Good stat there, buddy. Appreciate that.
I try.
All right. The next game is the Steelers at the Colts. Jeff Saturday led Colts. The Colts are 2.5-point favorites. Don, why don't you start this one?
Give me the Colts. I don't think the Steelers have really struggled defensively, which is weird that they have TJ Watt. I mean, they just let some Andre P-Rod just score a bunch of touchdowns on them.
Mm-hmm.
The Bengals didn't have Jamar Chase. It didn't feel like they got a lot of pressure on the quarterback, especially against a below-average line and the Bengals. And the Colts are playing really hard for Jeff Saturday right now. They almost just upset the Eagles. It's in Indianapolis. That's always kind of a hostile, hard environment to play in, especially now going in there with a rookie quarterback. I think this is and it's probably gonna be a low-scoring game, but I like the Colts. You have a veteran quarterback. Kind of their playoffs on their 4-6-1. Like, they know that they have to, go on a run here, and this is a winnable game for them. So, giving me the Colts at home.
Yeah, no, I like that too. I think Jonathan Taylor, kind of like what I said with Derrick Henry, he's starting to find his rhythm. He had a really slow start to the year. He's a little bit banged up. I mean, I think it was really odd the Colts bring in such an outsider like Jeff Saturday, who has no coaching experience, to be their head coach. But I don't know. It seems like the players are buying in right now. And I think, they might go on a little run here. I don't think they're going to be a playoff team or really compete at all. But I think they're going to show that, hey, this guy can coach us. We can fight for him. And then, like you were just saying, the Steelers are just a mess right now. They're just really bad. So I think the Colts will win.
No, I'm going to take the Colts because the Steelers are just in that rebuild phase where you can't really count on anything. You know what I mean? Like, Matt Ryan, at least, is a veteran. I mean, they are rallying around Jeff Saturday. I mean, it's pretty evident. You see that. Even though he lost the last high school football game he coached, I'm going with the Minneapolis Colts here. So I'm going to go into the next game here. The Bears at the Jets. Jets are 4.5-point favorites. Give me the Bears here. I think I like the way Justin Fields has been playing. I know the Jets have a good defense, and Fields is prone to stupid mistakes.
Is Justin Fields playing?
Or he might not. He's day-to-day.
Day-to-day?
Potentially season ending, he dislocated his left shoulder.
Okay.
I'm going with the Jets.
Spice up the pop. I think
I think Joe Flacco is going to play.
You think Joe Flacco will play?
When Mike White technically is their second backup quarterback.
I still think they're going to start Flacco. Flacco started the first 3 games.
Mike White, who claims he should have been the first overall pick.
I will say this. I think Justin Fields, if he plays, makes it interesting, but you have to look at it from the perspective of, both sides, two teams, two sides of the football. Like, which out of those 4 units do you trust the most? And the Jets defense is an elite defense.
Yeah.
And the Bears defense is one of the worst defenses in the entire NFL. So I expect the Jets to be able to bounce back and put up some points, where I think the Bears will really have to struggle to put up any points at all. So,
right.
That's also in New Jersey. So give me the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't know. I thought Justin Fields would have been fine to play. I don't know. I wasn't really like watching. I wasn't
still
really
might
like,
play.
I know.
Still pick the Bears.
I'm gonna pick the Bears, just going off the thought Justin Fields is playing. I think he's gonna make it interesting, but I'll go Justin Fields playing the Bears. I'll take
the Bears.
The Bears. Bear down, baby. But now that's gonna cap it off for all of our Bills and NFL talk for the day. But before we move into the Sabres topic, I want to bring up the Sports Bring People Together podcast. You should listen for entrepreneurial conversations with those in sports, and who knows where the chats will take you, but sports got us all together here in the first place. And find the show wherever you listen to podcasts, or simply visit sportseplus.com. So now, fellas, long pod today, long pod. Just with all the stuff we got to fit in before we go stuff our faces with some turkey. We're moving into the Buffalo Sabres. 8-game losing streak. Good Lord. You'd think they would have won at least one game. You know what I mean? Didn't we predict they would go?
I think I said 3-0. So
yeah,
rip. I went 2-1. So rip to me.
I think I was with you on 2-1. So I think we all had them going positive, but that just is not the case. So, I mean, Dom, what like? Take us through the tough week that the Sabres have had. Like, what are your thoughts? I know. I see you giggling over there. I want to hear what you got to say.
I think it's been a really frustrating couple of weeks, man. Like, yeah. I don't know what else. I mean, they lose to Vancouver, who is just begging you to beat them down. One of the best defensemen in that game was Ethan Bear, which you could have had for free, pretty much for the pick. So, and he scored. But
hey, they took Tyson Jost for free.
Okay, we'll talk about that in a second, but he scored. Ottawa is just a game where it was like, I don't know to tell you that when they had plenty of opportunities to take that game, they just didn't. The Leafs came in and just absolutely whooped them. I mean, they got whooped. I don't know to tell you that they just got demolished. And it just seems at this point like the only dude that's really shown up right now is Tage, and it's kind of, I think that Cousins line's played pretty well. Tage's line in a whole has played well, but Dahlin and Power played pretty well together. But, like, I mean, you have, 4 lines, that's 12 forwards. You have 18 skaters, and when only you could really count on, 8 of them, I mean,
yeah.
What can you really do? I'm sorry. Like, what? I mean,
right.
I know we've
tough.
Been a little banged up, too. Like, Postal's been out. Gergensons is out. Samuelson should be back tonight.
He is
for
back
tomorrow.
He's back.
So he's back. That's a good addition. I don't know. Like, Comrie's out, so Luukkonen kind of got thrown in against Toronto, and that was just brutal first game of the year to be thrown into that. Like,
but it wasn't his fault. Like,
no. I'm not saying I'm not saying it was his fault. I'm just saying that's a tough morale game right there.
I don't understand why they started him when Anderson owns the Leafs.
Yeah,
like that doesn't make any sense either.
No. Old man Anderson should have started. I agree with you on that.
They're just figuring things out right now. They're still a young team. They're in a rut. I think we expected there to be challenges along the way. And, I guess the only positive is that these young guys are hopefully learning from this. Like, the veteran guys, they're just going to be pissed. Young guys are going to be really pissed. But hopefully they get something out of it.
Motivated, yeah. I mean, if you look at their week coming up, I mean, they're home. No, I'm sorry. They're in Montreal, which Montreal's playing pretty well. But, I mean, that should be a dub. Like, I mean, you got to win that game. Tomorrow, they play the Blues, who are hot. But they get those cool red and black jerseys. Come on, you got to win. You got to win with those on.
Win it for the red and black goat head. Come on.
Yeah, Friday, they play the best team currently in the NHL on the New Jersey Devils at home. Sorry, Lindy.
I hate the Devils.
Don't hate the Devils.
And then Monday, they play home against Tampa. So a pretty brutal 4-game stretch. I mean, 3 of them are at home. One of them are in really cool uniforms, though. So it just, I mean, this is why you don't build your team off vibes. I'm sorry. Like, I'm going to say it straight up. This is why you don't build your team off vibes. Because just because the locker room is great
does
not mean the on-ice product is great. And yes, for the longest time, both have been terrible. Like, with Eichel there, toxic locker room, not getting on-ice results. So now they go, we have a good locker room. We're starting to maybe get some on-ice results. Let's not change anything. I mean, it's just, like, I don't know what you're doing. It's just, you can't, in the NHL, you have to always improve your roster. And yes, could you say, we're adding JJ Peterka, we're adding Jack Quinn, like, that's going to help improve a roster. And those two guys have played well. So it's not like you got that wrong. It's the fact of your coach is mismanaging this roster. This roster has been dying for you to improve it with your injuries. You don't do it. It's just an organizational failure for these first 18 games. And I'm one of these guys that's like, I don't care if they make the playoffs or not, as long as they're competitive.
Yeah. But they're just not being competitive.
But they're being competitive, But then they're just at the end of it not getting any results. It's like they're somewhat being competitive. Like there's improvements, sure, but like you can't be 7-11. Like, can you get to 80 points? Like, is that really that hard? Can you be a 500 team? 500 teams don't make the playoffs. They're not close to making the playoffs. But can you be that?
No,
like,
you can't settle for free Slurpee day. 7-11. You know what I mean? Like that's not good.
It's brutal. It's really pathetic, to be completely honest with you. And yeah, I don't think they've played necessarily terrible in the stretch. I mean, their defense has kind of stayed mostly the same. Their 5-on-5 goals they've lost a little bit of quality, so not producing as much. And at the end of the day, yeah, they're not getting the saves they did in the beginning of the year, and they're not finishing at that high rate as they were in the beginning of the year. So they're getting a little unlucky, but at the same time, I mean, they're losing these games. And
Sabres in November, just in general, are just always dog, too.
Yeah, we've only had one win for Buffalo sports in general in the month of November, and that was by the Bills. So, I mean, it's just I know you touched on this, Dom, but everyone's always like, "Oh, Granato came along. The locker room vibes are fantastic. This team's on the up and up." Okay, maybe the vibe, like you said, the vibes are on the up and up, but you're seeing a little bit of change, right? Like just a little bit, but nothing like drastic to the point where it's like, oh, Granato's like, he's a good developmental coach. I will say that. Like I don't know. It's just kind of aggravating.
He's good at times developing, but
yeah,
sometimes I think he's been really brutal this year, just overall in general. I guess we'll talk about it later about the whole Payne and Krebs situation, but that's been completely butchered. Scratching the wrong people. It's just, I don't know, man. It's one of those situations where it's like you don't want to make a move to impact the locker room.
Right.
But at one point, like, do you just say the locker room can survive if we move out this dude? Like, I'm sorry, like if you can't move out a fringe NHL or like Middlestat Olofsson without thinking, oh my god, the locker room's gonna be in chaos, then like, I'm sorry, you built a bad locker room. Then if it's so fragile that one person gets subtracted from it, the whole thing goes kapooey. Like I mean, like it's been an incredibly frustrating couple weeks of. It's not like we were begging for them in the offseason and be like, oh, trade Alex DeBrincat, sign him to a huge contract, sign Chris Letang to not $10 million, sign, but like. They didn't touch this roster at all.
Right.
And I think part of it was, we want to get our young guys an opportunity. And I could buy that. Like, that's understandable. But at one point, do you be like, we want to give our young guys an opportunity, but like, we could move out one of the guys that are taking the spot of the young guys so they still have an opportunity and improve that spot. Like, they could have moved Olofsson. I totally believe they could have moved Olofsson before they gave him that RFA extension. And then they could have went in and got someone that's better and gave up some assets to do that.
Right.
I mean, it's not like it's not like you don't have like a bunch of assets to potentially get rid of. I mean, they have a bunch of really solid players in Rochester right now who are really good prospects.
Yeah. We also have the number one ranked prospect pool in the NHL. So I mean, you definitely
they're not all going to make the roster. Yeah, you got to use them to get better players.
Right.
I mean, you have what 12 spots, and like I think Quinn, Paterka, Cousins have played very well, so that's 3. I mean, Skinner's here for the long haul. Tuck has been good. Thompson's been good. Asplund's good in his role. You're probably going to keep Oposo and Gergensen just because they're good veteran leaders.
Right.
That gets you to 9. And then it's kind of like, what are you going to do with the other 3 spots? And it's like, can you not improve those 3 spots to better your roster? It's just, it's just ridiculous.
I love the deep breath you're taking.
I'm going to get really frustrated in a minute because we're going to talk about some other stuff. But we talked about UPL a little bit. Let's first talk about him. I think this is a great opportunity for him because he's not been great in the AHL. He wasn't great in the AHL last year. He was good in the NHL last year. So, I mean, this is an opportunity for him to really, Comrie's out, I would assume. Weeks. They said week to week, but like, if it's
he's probably out for a little bit.
If it's a knee, it's probably like 2 months to be complete. It's like 6 to 8 probably. So, I mean, this is an opportunity for him, especially if they're going to keep Anderson kind of in a pitch count. Like, if he's going to get the bulk of the starts, it's time for him to.
If he comes and shows up, like that's what he's got to do. He can't mess around. So I don't know. It'll be interesting.
No, that's a good move. Okay, so this is okay. Tyson Yost. I would have been really happy for this move if it happened a season and a half ago before he got traded to Minnesota, because he's been bad in Minnesota the whole time.
Yeah.
But I think he's an interesting move in the fact of I think he gives you another solid depth forward. that's better than Anders Bjork, better than Riley Sheehan.
Yeah.
He's a very good forechecker. If he can find his game from Colorado, he was maybe not the best offensive player, but he was a very good defensive forward, very good forechecker. Like, and he can also play some center wing. Like, I think that's an interesting move.
Mm-hmm.
It's also interesting that he's making $2 million this year, and he's an RFA next year. So, like, if they're willing to pay $2 million on a potential depth forward, like, wow, you couldn't yuck up the extra $1 million to get a top 4 defenseman in Mike Riley. You couldn't.
Yeah.
I don't know the number. I'm gonna look it up, but I think Ethan Bear's making like $2.5 million. Like, you couldn't have gave a 5th round pick extra $500,000 to actually improve your defense. No, we're gonna be stuck with Jacob Bryson, Labuskin, Henry Haru. We got to see 2 weeks of Casey Fitzgerald and Lawrence Pilot, and it's just, it doesn't make any sense to me that they're willing to make this move.
Mm-hmm.
Not the other moves.
No, I 100% agree with you there, Dom. It's like, at that point, you're already like, just throw the extra $1 million on there. You have all that money in the cap space. Like, why? It's baffling. You know what I mean? It'd be different if it was like the Bills situation right now. I know it's not the same, but like football, hockey, but the Bills they have a very little cap space, right? It would be different if it was like the Sabres really only had $2 million to dish out to someone. They've got an abundance, though. You could have tossed that extra on there, and it wouldn't have made any difference.
Yeah,
you got Tage for $5 million. Like, come on, like, that's a steal. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't know. You could have done it.
I guess to me, it just shows that the coaching staff and management has faith in who they've got, and that's who they want. Like, they're just, I guess, complacent with what they got. Like, they just don't want to make changes.
Yeah,
maybe they saw Tyson Jost because you see the injuries they got in their bottom 6 right now. And they did not trust Anders Bjork to be in the lineup.
Which is a good move. Which was an actual good move.
Yeah, so he's taking that spot now because Bjork's back in the minors. So, like, that's probably, they're just, I guess, they like what they got. So they didn't feel like they need a Mike Riley or Ethan Bear or anything. We can sit here and say, yes, those are additions. You should never not improve your team because you think you're okay with what you have. You should always make moves to get better. But that's just, I would think, their rationale. They just didn't, they were fine with what they got.
No, I completely believe that it's their rationale, and it's terrible. But
I mean, I get it to a point. I really do. Like, they want to develop all their guys into those kind of players. They don't want to like spend money now because they're not in that win now mindset, right? They're not trying to go into the playoffs at this point. They're trying to just get figured out where they are. But at the same time, as a fan, it's frustrating because you could have had these good guys, but you skipped out on $1 million extra, so I kind of get both sides of it, but I don't know. It's just, I feel like they want that trust the process vibe, right? Like how McDermott preached for years, but I don't know. I don't think you're seeing the jumps that you saw with talent. I don't know. Like, what do you think? I'm trying to relate that, you know what I mean? But it's just kind of like, I don't know.
I think it's been frustrating that they're relying on such young players. And then in some aspects, they're relying on players that are known commodities that aren't improving your team. Casey Mills has played like 200 NHL games, probably the same amount for Olsen. Yogi Haru's played 200 NHL games. Bryson's played 200 NHL games. Labuskin's a veteran. Like, at some point, you know who you are. And for them to can you be like, oh, we got to trust these guys when they're getting killed on the ice is just pathetic. Yeah. So I think that's been the most frustrating for me with management. Granato is just frustrating me because he just refuses to understand to fix any of the problem. It's like he tries to fix one problem on the roster and he creates like 5 more.
Yeah, it's you're not actually making any headway with fixing.
It's like oh, Samuelson's out. Oh, we're gonna put Power of Delian. It's like, okay, now you exposed your entire depth of your defenseman.
Right.
So like when we talk about these new lines in a second, it's frustrating. It's like, oh, Jack Quinn, you're playing pretty well, but you're not scoring. Oh, we're gonna scratch you for a game. It just. So, talking about the new lines, it's the same a little bit of, it's Skinner, Thompson, Tuck. It's Quinn, which is a good line. That's a good first line. Okay.
Yeah.
And Quinn, Cousins, Peterka. Banger. Absolute banger. I love that line. That's a good line.
Yeah. Can I ask a question real fast? Sorry.
Yeah.
Does Tuck have an A on the jersey now officially? Or was that just a one game
It's just
thing?
Because Gergensen said posts are out because Tage had an A as well.
Okay. All right. Sorry, just quick. No.
This is my frustration though with putting those two lines together. Not really the second line. I think the second line actually should stay a line. Mm-hmm. I think they need to break up this top line because while this top line has been good, what's happened is this: you're now coming in with the situation of Olsen, Middlestat, and I gotta look up who the right winger is on that side. I think it's Asplund, but I might be wrong. But then you get that third line, which is just pooey.
Hinestroza, Middlestat, Olofsson.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then the other line's Asplund, Girgensons, Jost. I like that fourth line. That's actually an interesting fourth line. That's going to be a very good forecheck line, very good defense line. So the fourth line's fine, and I think the second line's fine. The first line is fine, but because you have the first line the way it is, it makes the third line trash.
Yeah, you got to stack first line, and you're jeopardizing that third line.
What happens is this, and then you have the ends packed up, paying Krebs a scratch. And I would be completely honest. I'm definitely not paying Krebs his number one supporter. Like I was on him in the offseason. I was like, I don't know why they're like just gift wrapping him a lineup spot.
Yeah.
And people have been really frustrated with his lack of offensive production. And the reason why is because he played 2 games with Quinn and Dylan Cousins in the first 2 games of the year. Played very well. And that has been off that. And his common line mates have been like Girgensons, Aspen, Middlestat, Olsen. Like he's not playing with Cousins, Peterka, Quinn.
Right.
Tuck, Thompson. Like he's not playing with any of your top offensive guys. And the role you put him in, which is forechecking and defense, he's actually played that role well. It's just not the role you want him to be in because you want him to score. So why not split up, those the Skinner, Thompson, Tuck line, get Krebs in there and like have like Krebs and Tuck together. Give Krebs some offensive options to see what he actually is. You're not giving him a chance to flourish. You're
right. No, I got you.
No, man, it just doesn't make any. I mean, and when crap hits the fan, they're gonna split up that Cousins line instead of splitting up the Tuck line.
Right.
So it's just been frustrating with the fact of, like, I don't know, give me a line of like Skinner, Thompson, I don't know, Hinestroza or something, and then give me a line of like Middlestat, Krebs, and Tuck, I guess, because they got to have someone. And then where does Olsen go? And then it's like, well, I don't know. Maybe Olsen goes in the top line, but that top line didn't work with Olsen. It's just, you have guys that just don't fit with certain dudes, and it's killing your team.
Right. No, I 100% agree with you. I mean, Hinestroza has been playing. He's been playing all right. You know what I mean? He's speedy.
He's all right. The last couple of games, he's been making really bad decisions with the puck, which is very bad.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know. It's just like you said, though. You got a stacked top line, and it just leaves a hole open down there. So I don't know.
It's kind of like the power of Dahlin.
Yeah,
is that you expose your weakness in the depth, and I think the fourth line is an interesting line. The second line is good because you actually have really good young players, but your third line's trash, and then you're scratching one of your prospects. Like, what's that for his development?
Mm-hmm.
Does he really need to be scratched? It's just
right.
It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, and I mean, I guess that's really my frustration. Is there's just so many like questions of like, why is Casey Mills on this roster? Olsen probably shouldn't be on the roster, but at least Olsen kind of fits that third. Like if you give him like third line minutes on 5-on-5, he hasn't been too bad. Like maybe he could stay on the roster. He's fine. You could have Victor Olsen on your roster, but you can't have both him and Mills on your roster because then it just like where are those dead weights supposed to go? You can only have so much dead weight before it drags down the entire boat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, it's just, I don't know. I'm right where you are. I'm kind of just questioning at this point, like Granato's decision making.
And then the defensive pairs of Samuelson and Dahlin I like, just because they played well together. I think Dahlin struggled a little bit coming back from injury, but having a guy like, Samuelson that's defensive minded will help him, unlock that Dahlin we saw earlier in the year. Pao and Yoki-Haru was just like, they just didn't improve that. We begged them to improve that partner, but they just didn't. I mean, am I surprised? Really not. So I guess, Power is good enough. He's just probably going to drag that dead weight, and then you just have dead weight in your third pair. So
yeah.
Like, what are you supposed to do? I don't know what you're supposed to do. Like, you have 3 good defensemen, and then you have 3 pretty bad defensemen. So it evens out like that, and you put 2 of the good defensemen together, which makes sense. And it's just, I just hope Bryson LaRouche can play like 10 minutes on 5-on-5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that'd be the only thing they would do. I don't know. I don't know anything else, but
just go off.
Yeah. I mean, and like
brutal.
What about the power plays though? Like that hasn't changed much, has it? That's pretty much the same.
They've unlocked Cousins on power play 1, which I'm excited for.
Yeah,
they put him on that right wing, opposite Thompson. They had Quinn there. I like Quinn. I just think the struggle with the power play has really been zone entries, and I don't think that's really Quinn's forte. And that's Cousins. Cousins is very good in transition, so that'll help them get in the zone. And Cousins also maybe a little bit of body, better possession, deep possession, and is also really good on that wing. Be good on that wing too. I mean, he had an assist on that power play off Tuck, and he had another really good chance from passing Thompson. So I'm excited, man. Cousins bandwagon.
Hey, he's played very well, so I'm all for it.
And then it's nice to see Quinn and Peterka playing on power play too. So slowly but surely they're getting time on the special teams, but it's just the overall lines have just been porous all year, and they continue to be poor. I don't know. Yeah. And then we're stuck. Our excuse has always been, well, Granato's a very good development coach, but like, has he really done that good of a job this year at it? I don't think he has.
No, I would say this is kind of a flub year for him as the developmental guy, but I don't know. We gotta wait it out for the rest of the season, but it's just kind of frustrating to see at this point, 7-11, but.
Okay, so what pieces do you think they need to do? What pieces? It's everyone come up with one piece. If you could add one piece to this roster, and how would you acquire that piece?
Well, I mean, I think, I know you were talking about like how our bottom 6 is kind of mid defense. Besides the top pairings, mid. Like those are all, I don't know. I guess free agency. Maybe you make a trade or something. Whatever. I'm gonna say, I think for right now, if you're not making those improvements, you need a goalie then that you can stand on his head. You need like a Hasek, you need like a Miller. And like, do they feel like Luukkonen is that guy? Do they really think, Craig Anderson is a guy that can stand on his head? No, I think they're really banking on Devin Levi at this point.
They are.
He's going to be this generational goaltender like a Miller, like a Hasek, because I guess they're pretty complacent with allowing upwards of 40 shots a game, all these odd man rushes, all these deflections and stuff. So they really want this franchise goaltender, and hopefully I want Devin Levi to be that guy. Like, don't get me wrong, I'd love that, but you're really gonna throw in a young goaltender on a team that has good top guys but no depth. Like, I guess you gotta, at some point, Kevin Adams gotta spend money. Maybe you had to overpay some guys to get them to come here and fill in a bottom 6 role. Like, I don't know. You saw, look at the teams that contend. They give like first round picks, like Blake Coleman, Barclay Goodrow. They acquired first round picks for those guys, and they both signed 7-year deals with their teams. Like,
after the fact,
they're not the biggest names. They're not gonna like light up the stat sheet, but they serve a purpose. And I don't know. I don't think the Sabres have any players like that. So just like, I'm not saying you have to overpay these guys, but don't be afraid to overpay a few, because as much as I like Zemgus Girgensons, like, he shouldn't be a long-term piece. Like, he's just been in a losing culture for all these years. Like, you need someone that has deep playoff experience. Like, Oposo's in his mid-30s at the end of his career. Like, I bring him back for 1 year at like a vet min, maybe like $1 million or $2 million. Like, I don't know. He's not a key contributor anymore in his career. And then, like, I don't know. We have all this faith that Middlestad's going to become this great center. Krebs is going to be a top 6 player. Like, it's like you said,
the experiment's over.
At some point, you are who you are, and I think they're kind of who they are. Because like, I've always been the one that's like, oh, they need time, they need time to develop, blah blah blah. But like, I can acknowledge now that like, they probably are who they are. Like, they've had the chance. Maybe you can still make a case for Krebs because he doesn't have 100 games yet. But like, Yoki Haru's played 200, Middlestad's played 200. Like, they're probably who they are. And I don't know. It's just, I completely agree with you that complacency has just not been good. There's a lot.
No, I would definitely agree with that. I mean, Dom, I think I even mentioned to you when we were sitting at the Golden Knights game and Comrie was in net, I was like, I even mentioned, why don't we just go after an elite goaltender? And then you were like, because we're waiting on what's his name? Levi. And like, that's like, right now we're giving up huge chunks of the season because you don't like Comrie's established himself, in my opinion, as a backup. You know, he plays decent from time to time. He has his highs. He also has his lows. And Craig Anderson is retiring. Like, the dude's 41 years old. Like, you can't rely on him. Like, I don't know. It's just, I get you're waiting for Levi to come up because it's at the point where, you know, he could be that future franchise elite goaltender, right? I mean, he shows all that promise, but at some point you got to think in the now, you know what I mean? Like, I get it. Future consideration. Like, they're thinking all that right now, but you got to think in the present, because we're losing games because of a lot of iffy goaltending. You know what I mean? Like, just, I don't know. I think that's a big thing. And then just like Mike was saying, depth is weak. Like you said, I mean, you put Owen Power and Rasmus Dahlin on the top line defense. You like, after that, it just fizzles out. You need some higher end defensemen. Like, you just need more defense, truthfully, because you've got Tage producing and you've got your offense is okay. You know what I mean? Like, it's good enough, but I think you just need an elite goaltender and some depth defenseman. And maybe you trade Middlestat at that point, because it's just like the dude's got at least a little bit of value. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It's just iffy. I have no idea.
I think this is what really has to happen is they're not going to improve the goaltender in the way that we want them to until Levi's available. Now, does that, in my opinion, once Anderson's off this year, does that stop me from saying that they should improve it enough where they at least get another goaltender that's actually better than Brandon Comrie? Absolutely not. I think they should do that. I think what they need to do for defensively is that they need to go to Minnesota, go knock on Ryan Johnson's dorm room, and go on your hands and knees and beg him to sign.
That man is not coming here.
I don't think
that ship has sailed.
Listen. I'm on my hands and knees at this point because they need his depth, man. They need him, and they need I think he has the potential to step in next year and be potentially like a bottom pair defenseman, which then leads to my next solution of you need to trade for a top 4 defenseman, and Jacob Chikrin's available. I know that's a huge price. Potential first round pick prospects more. Mm-hmm. Maybe you don't want to do that one, but like.
At the same time, though, like, sorry to interrupt, like, I feel like we could justify that because if we have so many prospects and so many picks,
absolutely,
there's only so many roster spots. So, like, at what point are you like, okay, we can give up some of these guys, take the chance to get an established player rather than banking on these guys developing?
No, absolutely. If you look at it and say, hey, we're going to trade our top 10 lottery protected 23 picks, so we're probably still going to keep it for the loaded draft and lose it for 24. We're going to trade Casey Middlestat just as the roster player, and we're going to trade Noah Ostlund, who's, you know, solid prospect, but he's 2-3 years away.
Mm-hmm.
And you also have guys that are 2-3 years away that, you know, so it's like, is that really that big of a cost? If you look at it, probably not. Like, I would do that, but It's also frustrating because look at the Devils. I mean, the Devils decor was a complete mess a couple years ago. But, okay, I'm not saying, yes, go sign Dougie Hamilton to 8x8. Like, that was an aggressive move. But they claimed, I don't know how to say the dude's name. You're going to say it. Stephen Fowler, thank you.
From Washington.
Like, he's one of the, if not the best defensive defenseman in the entire NHL. And he was on waivers, to be claimed. The Devils claimed him. And now he's playing well, and now he's in the recognition, and then he got the contract. Kind of like Samuelson a little bit. I mean, John Marino. Maybe not the best contract in the world,
relative of Mike,
but they traded him. They traded him for Ty Smith, who was in the AHL. I mean, they saw Ty. This is what the Sabres have been unwilling to do. Ty Smith had a good rookie year, was really bad the next year, and was really bad. I think this is his 4th year. I might be wrong, but he declined heavily and was terrible. Like, he was terrible. He's like Yogi Haru. He was bad. They realized, hey, this dude has some value around the league because people view him as this guy that puts up points. We know he's bad. Let's move him for a guy that's going to help our team.
Right.
And they did it. And look at they're on a 12-game winning streak or something like that. I think it might be higher 13. Than that. 13. Yeah. So John Marino is available for a cheaper cost, and he's a top 4 right shot defensive defenseman. So if you want to go that route, yeah, that's a route too. Or you could pay the big future. I think they had to add a top 4, and they had to ask they had to beg Ryan Johnson. Because then if you look at it and you say those are my 5. I could figure out Jacob Bryson, Ilabu. Like that dude could be my 6, and I could shelter the crap out of him. Like, you could do that. You can't shelter people when you have 3 dudes and half your defense is bad. If you could improve one guy in the bottom pair and add another really good defenseman, boom, that helps your defense. That's going to then help your goaltending if you're just going to play the stop and go until Levi gets here. It's also going to help your forwards because then you're going to have better offense, better defense. Forward-wise, though, they need to figure out right now who's going to be on. Like, who are their guys?
Mm-hmm.
And then they need to figure out of the prospects, like, who is going to be ready next year and who do we maybe want to save a spot for? And what position are they going to play? Like, are we going to say, we're going to wait for Matt Savoy next year? Is he going to play center or wing? Because if he plays wing, then I think they should add a center. If they think, we're going to make him play, not make him play center, but you know what I mean? If they're going to put him at center, then I think you should have a wing. Like, I think they need to add another top 6 forward to this roster as well that has, you guys might call it, some grit. Like, I think they need a dude that's, I mean, it's kind of unfortunate, but the dude that they traded Devin Levi for, Sam Reinhart, like, that's like the perfect guy they need. Mm-hmm. Responsible two-way forward, going to put up 25, 30 goals. Obviously, it's not the 80 points that he put up last year, but he's going to be in front of your power play with deflections. He's going to score those goals in the nitty-gritty area. Like, I think that's the kind of forward that they need to add to this roster. Plus, then, as Mike said, you need to add depth. Add some, solid defensive depth to the bottom 6 as well. And all of a sudden, you have a more complete roster, and boom, I saved your problems. And I mean, like, how much, honest to God, though, how much is that really going to cost you? Like, signing Ryan Johnson. Signing Ryan Johnson's $900,000. Am I willing to make that offer for Chychrun? Probably. If they accept it, awesome. That saves the defense. And then top 6 forward, like, I think you could find, Palat went for, like, a Palat kind of type who went for, like, $5.5 million. So you're going to make that investment. And then you add prospects. You re-sign some of your own a little bit.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom. Add another solid, like, $2-3 million goaltender with Comrie. I mean, and now are they willing to sacrifice those prospects, those picks, and they're willing to spend some money? Like, that's just what it comes down to.
I feel like with Granato at the helm as the developmental coach, I feel like that might be where that snags. You know what I mean? Because he wants to develop those guys. He wants to, bring up his own, that kind of a deal, instead of doing these big trades. You know what I mean? I feel like that's where that might snag.
But this is why I'll counter with that. Like, at this point, after next year, Adams is in year 4, Granato's in year 3. I think they'll finally have some pressure on them. Like, hey, we got to start
producing.
We got to start. I don't say go full on Steve Yzerman and give people 4x4s who don't deserve it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But, like, be a New Jersey, be like the Devils. Sign solid veterans.
Yeah, Tom Fitzgerald and Casey Fitzgerald, family.
If only we had Tom Fitzgerald on the helm.
I mean, in my opinion, Lindy should have never been fired when he was.
Tom Fitzgerald and Lindy for Kevin Adams and Don Granato. Who says no?
Oh my gosh,
I'd love Lindy back. Oh my God, man should have never left in the first place.
But no, I think that's what it's going to come down to fix this roster, which is a lot. But really it's small. I mean, it's not a lot. If you look at it, it's only like 2, 3, maybe 4 moves. But those moves have a lot of weight, and you gotta be willing to, jump over, lift that weight.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so big rant.
His soapbox.
So, it's all the way full. It's too high. So, looking back from last week, of our goal and point prediction, obviously 3 games played. Jeff Skinner and Alex Tuck tied for goals of 2, and Tuck led the team entirely with 5 points. So. It's interesting. So I picked Skinner for both. So I'm like
50%.
I'll give
you
myself
your point. You get your point for goals.
Oh, okay.
Because I get my point for goals and points.
Mike got 2 points, and then Joe got technically 2 points. We should probably keep a tally on this. We didn't so far, but think about it.
We'll start now. Just keep this in the back.
We'll start after this game.
After this game.
Okay.
After this week.
Okay. Never go 2 again.
Dude, my Skinner looked pretty good. He scored the first 2 goals. So I was like, man.
Mm-hmm.
So let's do some predictions. I guess I'll go first. I'll go. I'm gonna go. Man, this is tough. Thinking a lot. I'm gonna go Skinner for goals again, and Dylan Cousins for points.
I'm going to go Tage for goals, Dahlin for points.
Okay. Joseph?
I'll do Tage and Tuck. Tage for goals, Tuck for points. I'm sticking with Tuck for the points.
Alrighty.
Nice.
That's going to conclude our Sabres talk. Hopefully, will they have 4 games? Oh, I'm sorry. Almost jumped the gun there. 4 games. What are our predictions?
I think they go 2-2.
2-1-1. They lose to the Devils in overtime.
I'm going to go 1-3. Only win is going to be against the Blues in those cool jerseys.
All right.
Yo, they better win if they don't win in the goat heads, oh my
God.
No.
Dude,
they gotta win.
Well, you think Sabretooth will be red black again? You think they have that other costume ready?
You really think they're gonna make that expense? Really?
I think if they call it 90s night, they might.
They're not making that expense, Joe.
Might just dry clean the old one.
Listen, this is the Buffalo Sabres. You're expecting.
They're not making that expense. You think they're spending money?
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see. They
can't even spend $1 million to improve their on ice product. You think they're going to spend
You got a point.
Up the points for just a mascot change?
Yeah, you got a point there. I didn't even think about that. But since the Sabres talk's over, fellas, let's move into Would You Rather and trivia. I have the Would You Rather this week, and I think I've asked something along these lines before, but season wide. I'm gonna restrict it to one game here, right? Because this is related to the Bills, right? We'll do like Josh Allen. Okay, would you rather play an amazing game and lose, or play an average to below average game and win? Like Josh Allen throws 400 yards, pretty like 14 or
so it's like Josh Allen in the divisional game against the Chiefs.
Yes.
Or it's Zach Wilson last week but winning.
Yes. Like, what would you rather have?
What kind of game is this?
This is like I'm trying to think.
Well, because if this is a playoff game, I'm taking the dub. But if it's a regular season game, I'm probably
I would say regular season. Yeah, I'm not going playoffs at this point.
Does this game matter?
It gets.
Does it clinch anything? Like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna say my answer.
No, it's just an average.
I'd rather play
game.
well. I'd rather play well and lose.
I think I'd rather have a win.
I'd rather play well and lose. So then I have confidence next week in my abilities. Then
yeah, but like also like I don't know, a win is a win. Like
right, it's like Josh Allen.
To an extent, it doesn't matter how you win as long as you win.
Yeah, but if I'm a quarterback and I go 9-22 for 76 yards and we win like 6-3, like I'm gonna feel pretty crappy the next week.
Yeah, but you're not Zach Wilson. You're gonna say, "Oh, did I let the team down?" No.
Yeah,
obviously yes.
If they go after
yes, you let the team down.
Yeah, but you know if they go, did you think you helped the team today? You're gonna go yes.
You're like, no, I did not. The team stepped up. I played like dog.
Yeah. So I mean,
I think I'm gonna take a win.
It's like Taylor Heineke, right? 66% completion percentage, right? But still won the game over the Eagles. You know what I mean? That kind of a thing. Like wasn't anything fantastic. Where Josh Allen throws 400 yards against the Dolphins and they still lose. You know what I mean? Like that kind of a deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd take the good performance. I think future down the road will help me.
I don't know. I think I would take the average game and win because, I mean...
You didn't say it was an average game, though. You said it was a bad game.
Average to below average.
Okay, if it's average, then I'll take the win. But you're telling me...
Oh, my goodness. He said below... He said
I said average below average.
Why would it... Okay, then I'd take the win, then. I thought you meant, like, below, like, bad.
This dude's not listening.
Okay, you said, like, Taylor Heineke. Like, yeah, I would rather be Taylor Heineke, throw 200 yards and a touchdown, win, than a dude that throws 400 yards and 5 touchdowns. But if you're telling me I'm going to throw 75 yards and we win, like, I'm not doing that.
I get it. You went more on the bad instead of just the average. I got you. No, I would definitely just take the win. I mean, team morale at that point overweighs personal performance.
I know, but then they're gonna be like, can my quarterback get it done? You know,
I mean,
if we don't play as well as a team, can my quarterback, bail me out?
Got a point. Yeah. You got a point.
True, fair.
But a win's a win. Even if it's
a win is a win.
Even if it's down and dirty, it's a win. So I mean,
a win is a win.
Yeah, I would take the win. Mike, you want to take us into trivia, pal?
Yeah. So. I'll get right into it. Bill's question. Bills in their history, they've been all right. They've had their hot stretches, their bad stretches. There was that like 2-decade stretch where they were pretty dog.
Mm-hmm.
How many times have the Bills had double-digit win seasons? This includes when they played 14 games in their entire existence. I just got to add it up real quick to make sure.
Does this count playoffs or just regular season?
Just regular season.
Mm-hmm.
Since their existence.
Yeah.
19, 20. Well, they got 3 this century. I know that.
Mm-hmm.
They got another one 1999. They got another one 96. That's 5. They got all 4 in the Super Bowl, plus I think they made the playoffs again. So that's 10. I'm gonna say I'm gonna say 13.
I'll go 16.
It's 16. It's 16.
I knew I underdid it. I should have said like 15. I was like, you know
1964, 1965, then 1980, 1981, and then we got 1988, 1990, 91, 92, 93, 95, 96, 98, 99.
No, I didn't know they went back to back.
19, 20, 21.
I would have said 15.
98, the disrespect to Doug Flutie came in as a starter.
I thought that was 99, and then they benched him.
Came in 98.
I don't listen. Late 90s Bills history is still foggy for my liking. I knew they were decent in the early 80s because didn't they go to the AFC? They won the AFC East one of those years, I think.
Yeah.
And I forgot. Honestly, I forgot about the 60s. I would have had 2 more. Oh well.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, they won back-to-back AFL.
I can't forget about that, man. Come on now.
No, AFL.
Okay. Second question.
AFL champs, baby.
Yeah. Hey, it mattered back then.
Still matters today. Come on.
So, Sabres question. We all know, obviously, penalty minutes. Easiest question ever would be who has the most. It'd be Rob Ray. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me how many players have more than 1,000 penalty minutes for the Sabres? Just a number.
Trying to think.
5.
I'm gonna go with 8.
7. Rob Ray leading the pack with over 3,000.
Yeah, he's like 2,289, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Got Mike Foligno, Larry Playfair, Brad May, Matt Barnaby, Lindy Ruff, and Jim Schoenfeld.
Darn.
7.
Yeah, 7. Mike Ramsey was at 924, so.
You hate to see that.
Almost there.
Almost there. He just needed
almost made the cutoff on that one.
Yeah, just like a dozen more fights or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, last question. We all know we got hit with like the snowstorm. Maybe not so much in the north, but in the south. South towns got hit pretty good. Had over
77 inches.
Yeah, over 6 feet of snow.
I think it was 81 final.
Oh, really? Wow.
It's like 82, 81.
And then it got windy. And then a 40-mile-an-hour wind gust. That helps. You know what I mean?
So, can you tell me when the snowiest winter in Buffalo was?
Oh my God.
So like, for example, you would say 22-23, the winner of 22-23.
No, I know. Oh my God.
I feel like there's one main event that
was
like,
it 70? Was it 72
to 77?
What'd you say?
The Blizzard is 77, 76 to 77.
No, 77, 78.
Yeah, 76, 77.
Mm-hmm.
199.4
I knew it was
inches.
the 70s.
That's nuts. Yeah. No,
and then in 2000, 2001, it was 158.
Yeah.
So by a long shot, 76, 77.
So what? Are we already at 80, or does this not count because it's not technically winter yet?
It is. No, it's fall until the December 25th.
Hey, winter of 01-02 was 132.
Isn't it December?
I think it's from first snowfall.
Oh, okay. So we're already at 80, man. We're already what was the total? 177, you said?
Yes.
90 off.
No, 199.
Oh.
Never mind that. 199.
I don't know.
We're like 10 off. 120 off.
35, 40% of the way there. Come on now.
Okay, we need a few more blizzards then.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Well, that is going to do it for this episode of the Buffalonian Podcast, mixed with our Betting on the Bills episode. A twofer for you, for the listeners out there. I've been Joe Kelly, and I've been joined by Dom Loss and Mike Marino. And we want to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving out there, and we'll see you next week. And Dom,
eat your turducken.
The turducken. How do you always end these, buddy?
Go Bills, baby.
Go Bills.
Go Sabres.